Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Big Brother Reunions. Now, this one's slightly different to the other two that I've done because it was the hardest to put together yet in regards to getting names confirmed. A lot of people didn't want to do it with other people, so it's a lot of animosity still I found with this series. But we've reunited Lee and Lynn from this series, plus at the end of this little reunion, you'll hear an exclusive interview with Alex, and it's definitely not one to be missed if you're a Big Brother fan. So I hope you enjoy. So, hello and welcome to the Big Brother 3 reunion. Now, the lineup from the previous two that you've watched is a lot smaller, but that doesn't mean it's any less better because we've got the lovely Lynn. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
And we've got Lee, who looks literally, he hasn't changed from when he was in the show 18 years ago, which is incredible. How are you?
I'll take that. I'm great. How are you?
Really good, thank you. Can you, both of you looking back, can you believe it's been 18 years? Does it feel like a lot less than that for you both?
It's a whole lifetime ago, really, isn't it? It doesn't seem like that length of time. What do you think, Lee?
Well, time just goes quick anyway, and for me, it's incredible to think it's been 18 years. I remember it like it was yesterday. It's not, you know, a faint memory from you know, a bygone time. It's, you know, I still remember so much about it vividly. But you know, so much, I think it's because so much is probably happening in all of our lives, and we've had so much change, and you know, we've kind of gone from being the normalist to being put into the spotlight and then back down to it being us again. And we've done so much. We've kind of, you know, been so much and had so much change and met new people. We've had new experiences in our lives, and so much has gone by. To think for me back then, 18 years ago, I had no kids. And, you know, my oldest is going to be 15 in October. So,
Wow.
you know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
What made you want to actually apply for the show? Because at this point, for both of you, we'd had series 1 and then you had series 2. So you kind of knew a little bit on what you could expect in the house. So what was it about the show that made you feel like, yeah, I want to give this a go? So we're starting with you, Lynn. What was it about the show that was appealing for you?
Well, I had just split up with a boyfriend, and I really wanted to fill that sort of gap in my life that I had. And I also wanted to dip my toe into the fame game. I wanted to see if I could get onto it, and that seemed like an easy route into the road, you know, into the fame game without being particularly talented at anything. That seemed like a fast enough route, and I didn't really think, though, that I would get onto it. You know, I didn't really think that I would. I just thought, I'm going to give that a bash. It looks like fun.
And you know, what was it about it for you, Lee, as well? Because you were such a big personality, and you brought a lot to the house. So what was it about the show that made you want to get on board?
I didn't want to go on, actually, being honest with you.
Wow.
It was somebody who I worked with at the time. One day, and I've cut the story short, but they said, one day, has anybody got a camcorder? So I put my hand up and said, yeah, I've got one. Why? I want to do an audition for Big Brother. Okay, cool, brilliant. So I filmed their audition video actually for the show. And they said to me, well, why didn't you do one? And I was like, well, I'd watched the show. I knew the concept. I knew what it was. And they decided to do a video, which was totally, you know, this was off the cuff, no planning, no preparation. I did the video. And anyway, I got on. I just got on. You know, there was no serious intent to get through a stage of, you know, hundreds of thousands of people to get on. I honestly didn't think it was going to happen. I just thought, oh, okay, go on, it'll be a laugh. And what have I got to lose type of thing. But to kind of go through the stages and get in, as time went on, it just became very surreal when, before you know it, I'm being asked to be a contestant, and that was insane.
How long were you in it, Lee? How long did you last?
Oh, I think I was the 3rd or 4th to go, I think. So how long was the show? It was about 7, 8 weeks back then, wasn't it? So I think I was the 3rd or 4th. I think I was after Alison, a week or 2 after Alison, I think it was.
Okay.
That's the top of my head. Something like that.
Lynn, we were shortchanged with you. I still to this day do not understand why you weren't in there longer. And I spoke to you on Facebook and legit was a fan. And it was so frustrating when you went, because it was like such a good character that I feel like had so much more to give. Were you gutted to be the first out?
Absolutely was gutted. It's not a nice feeling at all. But I do think that they did ply us with alcohol. Nobody was holding a gun to our heads, of course, you know, so it was completely my own fault. But there was a lot of drink, wasn't there, Lee?
Was, yeah. There was kind of threw it all in and said, go and make a TV show. Go and, you know, go and do what you got to do.
Car crash TV.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, I'll be honest, I mean, you know, going on from the initial question, I actually remember when you were voted out, Lynn, and because I remember we spoke quite a bit within that first week. I spoke quite a bit with you. As those relationships started to form, I remember I spoke, you know, a bit with Jade and with you, and I couldn't understand it. I didn't get it. But then again, you don't understand what's being showed or portrayed or what's happening on the outside. But it just didn't, for me, it didn't make any sense. You'd not made any enemies. You didn't, you know, there wasn't, you know, I felt that your personality came across. Certainly to me it did, and it just made no sense. But it is what it is, isn't it? It's, you know, I don't think that you could control much more of what you did. You were just being yourself, and it is what it is.
Unfortunately, when there's too much alcohol involved, sometimes you can say and do things that you would never normally say, you know. And I'm afraid that that's what happened in my case. A lot of my friends said, "Oh, don't drink, Lynn. Whatever you do, don't drink." And I just started feeling a little bit kind of on the fringes of things because everyone was much closer in age, especially. I did start to feel a little bit on the fringes, so I thought, oh God, I need a drink. But that was when I was still quite a party goer, which I'm not really anymore. Chance would be a fine thing, I can tell you.
When you look back at series 3, there were so many people that came out of it as big stars, and we didn't have that from the other 2 series, bar a couple of people. I mean, Alison Hammond, now one of the greatest funniest presenters on TV. The late Jade Goody, I mean, probably the biggest star to come out of Big Brother. So what was it like being in a house with Jade? Because she was such a big character and she was loved by everyone.
Yeah, she was lots of fun. She was bubbly. Yeah, she had a lot going for her. I can understand why she became so famous so rapidly. But if you remember, right at the beginning, she was really vilified in the press. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And then there was this big turnaround, you know. So I'm really glad that she had such a good long run of it. And it's been great for Alison. I think Adele as well.
Really well.
And of course Kate. So yeah, it's good.
And Lee,
good on them.
Jade went back into Big Brother, and of course we all know the unfortunate demise in regards to what happened in a second time in a house. For you being in a house with her and kind of knowing Jade, was that hard for you to watch what you were seeing? Because you could tell she was really sorry for what had happened, but of course it just was the start of the end of her career, unfortunately.
Yeah. Lee?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I got on quite well with her. I got on quite well with her. We, you know, had some good times, some laughs and jokes, and you know, she was generally fun to be around. I don't know. I just think that she, for me, was the first ever reality TV superstar that we made in this country, and I think that Jade's character, Jade's personality, Jade's kind of the silliness that came with it, the silly mistakes she'd make, the way she'd get her words wrong. It was really weird. She almost made, and I'm going to say in inverted commas, the dumb side of things, and I'm not calling her dumb, but she used that very well to her advantage.
Absolutely.
And it almost became that started this new era of that being cool.
Yeah.
And that kind of for me, she paved the way for your programs now, like The Only Way is Essex, because a lot of those programs that are there now are very kind of almost kind of like byproducts of Jay Goody. Jay Goody started that. Jay Goody was the first person on TV to be a little bit silly, to, you know, the accent, the, you know, the Southern girl, you know, be a bit silly, be a bit funny, kind of crack jokes, or be almost so wrong in the things she was saying that it made you laugh. And you know, you didn't turn your nose up at it because it just made her who she was. And now you've got so many of these types on TV now. And that all really stemmed from Jay. Jay was the first.
Yeah, that's right.
What I wanted to ask you, Lynn, is looking back at your time in the house, is there a moment that stands out as kind of the funniest or your favourite moment that you just look back with fondness?
I haven't only really been in a week. Things didn't really start they weren't getting going in that first week. People were just sort of discovering each other and finding out about each other. There wasn't even, if I remember right, no, there wasn't any tasks or anything to do in that first week. So time sometimes felt like it could drag, didn't it, Lee? It was.
Yeah, it did. I agree, Lynn. It was about forming those relationships, really getting to know about people, just getting to know people's names, where they're from, and kind of those dynamics starting to form within the first week. So again, for Lynn to go after that first week, if I remember rightly, in the first two Big Brothers, nobody went until the end of the second week. But they kind of threw a spanner into the works on our one. And I always remember I was washing up. And then Davina comes on. Bang! Somebody's going out of nothing. And it kind of we were all like, oh my God, it threw us all off. But going back to the initial question, I think that, you know, things started to pick up a little bit more the second week. You know, there were certain people that started to like or form groups of others. There was certain people that showed their dislike to other people. We had Sunita, who left quite early on as well. Sophie came in to replace her, and
why did Sunita leave? She just didn't really like being there.
I think again, I think she said to me at one point it was about her career, because I believe was she a lawyer, or was she something like, anyway, she had an incredibly professional job, and I remember saying to me,
barrister.
Was it a barrister? That was it.
She said to
me, something like that. And she said to me, "This is not good for my career." And I actually sat there and I said, "I'm really surprised that you're in here. Really surprised with the job that you're doing.
I mean,
what are you doing in here?"
From the start.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's you know, it was always going to be a risk, and I think it got to a point where she thought, "This is not doing me any favors," and I respect that. She went, and I respect that.
And for you, Lee, obviously you had some big kind of press stories from your time in there. So going back to, do you regret anything about your time in the house? Is there something that you look back and wish you kind of didn't do that?
Not really.
No.
No, because if I did, I wouldn't have been myself. I don't think I did anything bad. I think I just, you know, for me, it was just, I had a lot of fun in there, you know, just, you know, I guess, you know, I missed things on the outside, and I think my frustrations boiled over sometimes, once or twice, but I wouldn't say I came out of that too badly with any, but look, press, you know, any real bad press. Look, in that day, the show was so big, we were all labelled as something. We all had a little label that the press would give us. I think mine was a big flirt or something like that, and whatever it is. I mean, if I'm going to come off TV and be a flirt, then, you know, it could have been a hell of a lot worse. But, you know, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think I was 21 at the time. I remember having my 22nd birthday in there, and I think what I may have done differently is I would have been a bit more, I think I was a bit naive about it. I think I went in there as a laugh and a joke, you know, and I didn't realise that this is actually a game show and there's money to be won. I don't think I played the game as well as other people did.
Same.
Yeah.
I should have played that game better. I think I sat on the fence a little bit too much and tried to be Mr. Nice Guy of everyone, whereas I actually think if you just be yourself, and sometimes if there is a little bit of confrontation with people,
it's no bad.
You're probably not going to go, because people are going to want to see more of you.
Yeah,
and, you know, and you're not going to go where you just think, oh, if I have an argument with someone, I'm going to get kicked out. It doesn't necessarily work like that. So I think at 21, 22, I was naive. I didn't play the game the way I should have played the game,
Same.
which would have given me a better shot of, getting to the end. But I've got absolutely no regrets, to be honest with you. I went in there for a bit of fun. It didn't cost me a penny to do it. And, I had some fun and I met some amazing people and did some amazing things. So no regrets at all.
Absolutely.
Do you both still get recognised now? So if you're out, do people like, I know you from somewhere? Do you kind of get that still to this day?
Yes. When I'm in the UK, I do still get that.
That's incredible.
Yeah, up and down the country. It's a phenomenal sort of platform, really, because, well, in my case, I was only on for a week, but that level of fame, it does hang around. It lasts for years and years. Even when you're right out the public eye, people still recognise you and think, I feel like I know you. And I said, I just have got one of those faces,
That's what I say, Lynn. That's what I do. I say that all the time.
So you don't admit it? You don't say where you were from?
No.
No, I let them guess. I never. No, if they come out and guess it, I'll go, yeah, well done. But no, not usually. It's it does hang around. It's
so much
it's a little bit different.
It's
a little bit different now, though, I find, Lynn, because once upon a time, it was people running down the street with a pen and paper and just pointing at, oh my God, and all of that. And now it's just very much, it's more of a double take. And they'll do that and then they'll go, oh. But they don't say anything. They just go,
yeah.
So that's kind of what it is. So, and that's cool with me because, I'm very low key guy now. I keep myself to myself. I like just to blend in and, that's cool. Works good for me.
Yeah.
What was another big character in the house? I just want to quickly say, actually, before I ask this, Jonathan obviously really wanted to be on this day, and he's had a bereavement, as you both know. So I don't think unless he's going to join in the next 5 minutes, I can't see him being on it. So we want to send our thoughts to Jonathan. But talking of Alex, a character you've never seen before, so unpredictable, would say things where you're kind of like, wow, what was it like to live with Alex in the house?
It was all right. I didn't really have any problems with Alex at all. He's posted a few odd things on Facebook recently, but he came across as a fairly nice enough person. What do you think, Lee?
I liked Alex. I don't think I fully understand Alex as a person, but and that's not meant with any disrespect. I think me and him are very different people, but I found him interesting. It was different, I remember that thing with Johnny weeing on the floor, and he would come to me and in the shower, it's disgusting, and he'd just be, he'd just lay into me because I'm a pretty good listener, so I sit there and listen to everyone, even if I don't agree with them. I listen to people, let people kind of get things off their chest. I've always been that kind of guy. It was, I don't know. I don't know. I thought I got on with Alex quite well in the house, and even afterwards we met up a couple of times and it was all well and good. But I don't know. I'm not sure what his thoughts are or what he thinks of me. To be honest, he's added me various times on social media and then deleted me off them. And I've not done it. I've not even spoken to him. I've not done anything wrong. But it's happened about 3 or 4 times where he's added me and deleted me, So I don't know if I've offended him in any way, shape or form. But I have no problem with him. But who knows? I don't know. That's not just you, Lynn. You've obviously stood the test of time, Lynn. Obviously, you're doing something right.
Well, no, not anymore, Lee, because I did when this COVID thing when it really kicked off. He was posting lots of things online about various Chinese people eating strange animals and things like that, right? And I thought, I'm not wanting to see that as I'm having my breakfast. And I did say to him, Alex, could you please stop posting things like that? And he gave me a bit of a barrage of abuse. This is after being on his Facebook for about since Big Brother since it ended. We've always maintained contact, 18 years, and he deleted me.
He deleted you over that?
Yeah.
Yeah, this well, I at least, you know, he had a reason in his mind to delete you. I didn't do anything.
Is that not
I didn't do
strange?
anything.
I just was like, I thought
yeah,
that is weird.
But you know, again, it's just a bit of a shame for me, because I think, you know, like I say, the time I spent with him, I did like him. He was a nice enough lad, not someone I'd want to spend too much time with. But,
No.
but you know, when I was in his company, it was pleasant. It was okay. But you know, he's got his reasons, and if I get another friend request, it ain't happening. He's at 3 strikes, and he's had his 3 opportunities. He's not having a 4th.
We're going to have Alex is going to be on separately on his own, just kind of reflecting on his time in the house, and that's going to
That's
play
probably
after
best.
this. So yeah, I want to kind of talk about life after the house and what you all do now, because I know, Lynn, you're extremely busy. So what was life like after the house? What happened, and what do you do now for work?
Well, unfortunately, the last sort of 4 years have been really quite difficult for me. I've had 3 bereavements, one after the other. I lost mum and my dad and my brother, so I've had really quite a hard time these last few years. But yeah, after the show, I just returned back to normal life, really. I did my degree. I got a job in Aberdeen Art Gallery. I worked there for about 3 years. And then I moved to London. I was in London for 10 years, just doing various jobs like executive PA and stuff like that. And that's when I was getting quite a lot of, oh, do I know, I recognise you. I recognise you from somewhere. And I would say, one of those faces. And anyway, now I'm in Milan. I've been here for about a year and a half. And this is where, in Lombardy region, this is where the whole lockdown thing started in Europe. So we were under lockdown for much longer than the rest of it, about a month ahead the rest of Italy. Yes, it's been a challenging time, I have to say, because, well, I had started a job teaching English in a children's school, and you know, I was there for a short time and then it closed down. So it's going to resume again in September. But yes, I've just had to kind of, you know, because I don't really know that many people here as yet. And, you know, I'm with my partner, but he works from home. It's called smart working. He's working from home. So I try to give him some space during the day. And during the lockdown period, we were just watching heaps and heaps of TV, and like everybody else, you know, Netflix. So, but yes, that's about it. Lewis.
Am I right in saying that do you work with art, or are you an artist?
No.
Have I got that wrong?
No, that's another Lynn Moncrief.
I've literally been looking at pictures and I just got the impression that you're an artist from some of your profile photos and stuff. You look quite expressive.
That's someone else. It's cards and things online, isn't it? That someone designs.
And not you.
No, I've been doing basically administrative work, and then I've got into teaching. When I was in Congo for 2.5 years, I was teaching English. Amazing. So that's what I've been doing. That Lynn Moncrief is a different one.
Do you know, the funny story, I've been putting these reunions together, and a lot of people, you have to use social media to find them. And I contacted one person that I thought was a housemate, same name, looked like them on there. We'd done an interview, and when they came on, so they agreed to it and said, would love to. And they came on Zoom, and it wasn't the person. It's really awkward. And I kind of said, why did you agree to take part?
That was a bit awkward.
So it was, it didn't go well. But Lee, what do you do now? And tell us kind of life after Big Brother for you.
Yeah, obviously, Sophie got together after the show, and we had a son, Max, who in 2005. Max is, as I said, 14, nearly 15 now. He's taller than me. I'm picking him up in a couple of hours' time. He's going to come stay stay with me.
You must be a real looker coming from the both of you guys, because Sophie was beautiful as well.
Yeah, he's very confident, very sure of himself, looks wise. Yeah. Obviously, I would say he's my son. He's a handsome boy. So, but back 2007, I went to university. I got myself a sport and exercise science degree, and did 2-year teaching qualification. So I went on and I taught. I've been teaching for probably now about 6 or 7 years. And at the moment, I'm just training to be a journalist. So I'm doing my journalism qualification. So
well done.
Yeah. It's something that I wanted to do for quite a while. So I'm starting. I'm just in the process at the moment. So yeah, it's something. It's sports journalism, so which is my thing, and that's going to hopefully be the next 25 years, or my last 25 years of work will be in journalism, which would be great. I became a dad again last year.
Saw that.
I don't know if you could hear that. Became a dad again last year. So
yes.
Little girl, 1-year-old girl. So yeah, life's good.
What's her name, Lee?
A partner and stuff. Lucia.
What's it? Lucia.
Yeah, because she was conceived in Sardinia, so we went for Lucia, or should be Lucia.
Lovely.
So, as part of our Big Brother 3 reunion in a solo interview, we've got Alex. How are you?
I'm very hot and sweaty. I don't normally look this greasy. As I said earlier, I've got 4 girls downstairs from the ages of 4, 6, and 7, and then there's my sons who are 20 months old and 6 months old, and I've been entertaining. And now that I'm up here, my wife's got to do some work now, so she's probably not very happy. I don't think I'm going to get my blowjob tonight because of that.
Amazing. We were joined a little bit earlier with Lynn and Lee, and I asked them what made them want to actually take part in Big Brother. And I kind of want to ask you the same question. What was it about the show that excited you?
Well, I've never watched the first 2 programs. I'd always been abroad because at that time it's show season in Europe for modelling. So I was always there. And I remember at the beginning when I'd first heard of Big Brother, I was like, who wants to watch people living in a house together? Even though in 1999, I was living in Australia and there was a bloke called .com Guy. And he basically put cameras in his house and he was going to live there for a year. People would come over, musicians and all that. He'd order, hey, I've just had a Pizza Hut, you know, a lot of advertising. And I used to watch that because it's like complete voyeurism, you know, because the truth is we're all like that. And you'd be lying if you said to me that if you've got the window open and you can see your neighbour in the shower, whether they're male, female, fat, thin, ugly or good looking, you're still going to look, aren't you?
I really wouldn't.
No, yes, you would. You'd have a look and go like, oh my God, isn't he flossing? No, you would. And I suppose that we were really interested in it because back in those days, we didn't know what anyone else did. You know, it was when you watch things on TV and you see actors, you see them as their character, but you never know who they really are and what they do. And I think this whole phenomenon of watching people like pick their nose and go to the toilet and argue, people are intrigued by it. But going back to the original question, I came back to the UK. I forget what I came back. I think I came back for a funeral. And I was at a friend's house. I hadn't seen them for a while because I was always abroad. And this advert came up on Channel 4 and it was the spider. Then the spider went away and it was Big Brother and a telephone number. And then I joked with my mate, so was that Big Brother? I went, I'm going to get on that, you watch. But then afterwards, I was like thinking, oh, I don't want to go on something like that. And one of my other friends who was a model, he was a little bit older than me. He was coming sort of to the end of his modelling career. And I went, you should go on this programme. I'm sure it will be great. I made the phone call because back then they used to send you a massive big form to fill out. And I got a couple. And because my friend was dyslexic and couldn't read and write very well, I sat there with him and we were filling out the forms. And I'd do my one. He would do me one. God, I look so greasy and sweaty, sorry. And what happened was, both of us got, well, we sort of got through. And Tim was, he's a good looking bloke. He was half Greek, half English, but he had that sort of like sexy Jesus sort of look. Like what models were like in the 90s. Models in the 90s, guys and girls, it was like traditional what we think of a model, fairly slim, symmetrical. Whereas nowadays you've got to look like a skater boy who's on heroin to get anywhere. But anyway, Tim was like that, and he was better looking than me, and we both got through the processes, and we'd have to go to the auditions, and I didn't know that he wasn't going any further. The truth was, I think they wanted him because he was like the male Totty, but he wasn't as good with his mouth. That sounds really wrong, doesn't it? He wasn't as good with his mouth as I was. So I think they got me in, and from what I understand, there was a couple of us that they wanted right from the start. They wanted Jade right from the start. They wanted Adele, and they wanted me. From what I found out from Adele, we had to go through more psychiatrists because on my application, and same with Tim, when it said, it says your sexuality, and I went, say you're bi because it'll make us interested. So we both put bisexual. And when I was up with the psychiatrist, I remember the woman said to me, "So, are you a homosexual?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I just put it on my form to make me sound interesting because it's like an interview, you know." And she goes, "I know, but tell me, are you a homosexual?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And there was this really awkward pause. And it was because they were trying to say, look, if you are, or you say you're not, if you go on this program, somebody will come out and say, yeah, I fucked him. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. And if they did, I was definitely very drunk at the time. And Adele had that as well. Because Adele was a lesbian, and sorry, lesbian, you don't say anymore, it's gay, isn't it? So she was gay, and they were saying to her, do you realise what's going to happen if you go there? Your parents might be upset or embarrassed, stuff like that. But anyway, before I knew it, I got through. Now, I was living in Germany at the time, and they were paying for me to fly backwards and forwards, or I had my car with me in Germany, so I was driving backwards and forwards because they wanted to do things where they went out for a night on the town with your friends and all that to see what you're like with your friends. And I said, well, I don't do nights out on the towns. And I said, the sort of clubs I go to with my friends, I don't think you'd like it there, because I didn't go anywhere local. I only ever went to gay clubs because it's the best place to meet alpha females, which I'm rather partial to an alpha female. Mind you, I've gone for a beta this time because all the alphas I've had in my life have all beaten me up. But don't tell my wife I called her a beta. So they couldn't go out with me anywhere. So I was like this, who is this guy? You know, he's got no friends. Well, I did. All my friends were in Germany, all around the world. But when I was traveling from the age of 19 to 21, I had my friends back home, but they're all camera shy and they're not really like me. Like they like to be quiet. Whereas I've got a bit of a mouth on me. And like, even when they say to me, oh, you wear all these coloured clothes because you want to stick out. I went, no, I don't want to stick out. It's just that I like I like the coloured clothes. It's like I've got a bright orange car. Not because I'm a show off. I just love orange. Like even lots of look, my watch, you know, I love bright colours, you know. Plus I'm supporting the cause. I don't know which cause. There are so many. I remember when I was a child, I used to love rainbows. And then it's been hijacked by Pride and the NHS, and it's like, you know, I just like my rainbows, you know. But I just love bright colours and stuff like that. Sorry, I've completely digressed. Yeah, that was it. So why I went on there with my friend is I got in because I was a little bit more out there. Plus, I think because I'd never watched Big Brother before, I wasn't pretending to be anything. I was just, you know, I, over the years, when you look at the contestants, you do get some contestants, I think, that just always wanted to be on TV. They've always wanted to, I don't know, they didn't have any friends at school, so they want to try and prove to everybody, hey, look at me. Whereas I'd never watched the programme, which I think helped me big time. Because, yeah, I think trying to act your way through it, people see that I mean, everyone says, "Oh, playing up to the cameras and all that," but I wasn't ever doing anything so people would nominate me or not nominate me. I just lived the experience because I was the only one, apart from Sandy, who had actually ever lived away from home. They'd all lived at home. They were all used to mum and dad mum picking up after them, you know, cleaning the seat when it was saturated in urine and stuff like that. None of them had ever lived away from home before, except Sandy. So I thought it was a walk in the park. I lived in New York for 2 months in a 2-bedroom apartment with 10 male models, and that was clean. We all kept on top of things. I mean, we partied the whole time, and we all had to take turns and who could use the room if we brought a girl home and stuff like that. But but it worked. So I thought this would be a walk in the park for me. And I remember saying to my friends, I went, "Oh, it'll be fine. I'm sure people get on with me fine because everyone else seems to." But it wasn't like that, was it?
Well, the thing is, you were such a big personality, and I was saying to the other two earlier on that you look at the characters in there. You had probably the biggest reality star, Jade Goody, and then Alison Hammond, Adele, Kate. So many people that have gone on to be huge names. And of course, when you talk about Big Brother 3, everyone remembers you because, for a fan, you gave us entertainment. So when you went into the house, did you kind of go in there wanting to entertain the audience? Because a lot of people became complacent, in my opinion.
Yeah, what happens is I think the first week or so, you don't want to sit there and not say anything because you're very conscious. I mean, I know I played a lot of games at the beginning, like they did like a Jerry Springer type thing. And you'd rather sit, like Sandy sat out in the corner. And I remember thinking, oh, I'd like to sit with him. But I thought, no, I don't want to look boring and all that. So I think for the first week or so, like anything, you are a little bit more animated. That's because you're just a little bit nervous. Well, I was anyway. And then after about a week, when I realised pretty much everyone hated me, it made it a little bit easier for me to survive in there. Because I mean, I don't have to pretend to be anything. I just have to be here. And then on week 2, when I was up for eviction, I really thought that was my moment then, especially with the amount of abuse I heard coming over the fence about me, mainly me. I really thought my days were numbered. And in fact, I had heard from, you know, when things go on, you get to meet some of the producers and the people that worked on Big Brother later on, and they talk to you about it. And they actually said to me on that eviction with Alison, there was only 1,000 votes in it, but I actually had more votes than her. I should have been evicted that day, but they kept me in because I was the only one pissing everybody off. There would have been harmony.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And the thing, did it bother you, people disliking you? Or, you know, when they were nominating you, was there a stage where you thought, why? What have I done wrong? Or
well, no, because you'd work out who didn't like it. There was only one time I was ever upset about people nominating me, and that was on the very last week, and it was with Kate Lawler. You know, I always wipe the slate clean every week. For nominations. I ended up nominating, I think, Johnny every week bar one. But that's because even from the very first night, something that he said, it just really, I was like, yuck, I cannot be friends with a man like that. But no, with Kate, it was on the last eviction, the last nominations, which was me, Tim, Jade, Johnny, and Kate. When it was Tim and I up for eviction, we worked out that means all 3 of them voted for us. And then we went, what's Jade doing voting for us? She should have voted for one of the others. But as Jade said, she did it because she worked it out that if she would have voted for one of the others, there'd have been a chance she would have been evicted. So Kate, when all the nominations came out, I just went out with it. I went, come on then, it's the last week. Who voted for what? And Kate just went, I've nominated you every week. And I went, really? And I went, I nominated you once. She said, I only nominated you every week because I thought you were nominating me. And then I was thinking, wait a minute, you used to get into my bed and play Follow the Van, and it was quite sexual. I mean, there was no penetration. I've got to say, we never ever, there was no fingers going anywhere. We were just naughty kissing on the nipples, you know, getting the fan from somewhere else. And I remember when I watched Big Brother back, it took me about 3 or 4 weeks to watch the whole thing. Every night I came home, I put it on just to see how Essexy nasally I sounded. I mean, I used to cringe just by the way I sounded. And there was one point, she'd get in bed with me, and 3 hours later, she'd nominate me. And I was like, whoa. But then again, maybe I should have done that. You know, that is playing the game. There's nothing wrong about being a game player, because at the end of the day, it is a game. So that was probably the only time I was a bit upset about nominations. And in fact, once she told me that, I was really, because, you know, we'd always planned, I can't believe I'm saying it, we'd always planned when we were in there, so when we get out, let's meet up and have sex. And she gave me her knickers. They had cherries on it. I never forget. I ended up giving them to a police officer at some point, but that's another story which I think we can probably cover a bit later on. But no, that was the only time. I wasn't bothered. Some of the others would go like, oh, my mum and dad have got to come down from Newcastle, and I was like, so what? You know, and I didn't realise how much booze they were giving the parents. I mean, my mum and dad, they're not snobbish, but they don't drink shit. You know, they're not going to go. My dad used to be mortified when he saw me drinking Black Tower and Blue Nun in there. He was like, oh my God, no son of mine can drink that. And he said that they'd have like party poppers out in the green room. And it was amazing how so many of the parents would literally go from table to table drinking, and then come back, all right, how you doing? And they'd always come to my mum and dad, because my mum and dad didn't drink that. And I think Jade's mum always tried to nick it. In fact, she got carted off twice, apparently, by the ambulance.
Wow.
And they said, like, oh, she's having an epileptic fit. And my dad goes, yeah, after drinking 4 bottles of wine. Because some of them were complete alkies, the parents, complete alkies. But that was the only thing. People were worried about, oh, my mum and dad have got to come down. Oh, it's really bad. But it wasn't that bad. And I think the parents enjoyed it. I think most of the parents would have been sort of proud of their kids.
Yeah.
I know my mum and dad were. I said to my mum when I came out of there, literally, I said, oh, mum, how did I do? And she said, oh, we were so proud of you, your manners. And I said, what manner? I remember she said to me, oh, when Johnny cooked you dinner, you were the only one that wasn't eating. And when Johnny goes, why, hey, what's wrong? Don't you want my food, like? And I went, no, you made it. So I'm waiting for you to sit down before I start eating. So my mum was really proud of that.
For you in there, when you look back now, is there something that stands out as the funniest moment for you? Something that makes you laugh, that you enjoyed the most?
Yeah, I do. One of the times I remember really laughing and trying not to breathe, I was with Adele, and it was the morning of when PJ and Jade had sex, and the lights had all gone on, because normally as soon as the lights go on, I was the first one up, so I wanted to go in the shower before those other dirty bastards got in there. And when the lights went on, we looked across and we were still really quite drunk, and then Jade and PJ were in bed, and I started laughing, and because Jade was naked, she just got up and took the covers with her. And then PJ was in there with his big balls and his little willy. And I remember we couldn't stop laughing. I was going, look. And I remember I was uncontrollable. And I know PJ was like going, oh, what? And it was like moving it all around. And I remember I laughed a hell of a lot that time. That does stick out in my head. But sort of uncontrollable laughing, because you wake up and you're like, oh, where's Jade? And she was over there. And they did have sex, but I know they didn't show that.
You remained good friends with Jade, didn't you?
Oh, yes. At the beginning, there was a lot going on. She used to call me quite a lot, and I sort of fell out with her when she was. You know, I think I probably owe Jeff Brazier a bit of an apology, because I saw Jeff with her, and I thought, I hope he's not using her. And then one of my friends was in a class with Jeff Brazier, and he told me something that had happened at school. And I told Jade, I went, look, Jade, just in case it ever comes out, I need to tell you something that happened. Anyway, she told Jeff. Jeff spoke to me, and basically, my friend had told me something, and sort of down the years, it wasn't Jeff, it was some people that it was with. Something happened, and I remember Jade took it personally because she thought I was shit stirring. So we didn't talk after that. And then when I was about to do the panto, she was there and she said, oh, can we be friends again? I went, yeah, no problem. And then I got dropped from the panto, and then I didn't see her again for maybe 7 or 8 years. I saw her, I went with my girlfriend who I had at the time to this awful, it's like the Duke of Essex polo event. It was just full of Essex people snorting up coke and fucking in all the portable toilets. I mean, it was vile. I mean, the people there were vile. They really were. And I saw her, And I waited behind her because I don't like to interrupt. I went, "Oh, hi, Jade, how you doing?" And then she looked me up and down. She said, "Oh, hi, Alex. So nice to see you. You're looking great. I'm so sorry. I'm here with my friends. I'll speak to you another time." And then turned around and I was like, "Oh." And I remember when I saw her then, she was a bit unrecognisable because she'd already started having, I think she must have had some little bits of surgery and stuff like that. And she had much bigger lips than usual and other things. And I remember I was a little bit taken back because I'd always liked Jade, because right from the very beginning, we always knew that there was something there. Like when Sneeta told her, "Oh, you're too young to know about drug addiction and stuff like that," and then Jade was going, "No, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. I know. Don't say I'm young. All right." So that sounds a bit like Gemma Collins, and Jade is nothing like her. So I knew then, someone in the family, there is something there. And of course, when you come out, you found out that basically Jade had done fantastic in life, considering her dad was a criminal in prison. Both his mum's parents had been in and out of prison for theft. And Jade's mum was a one-armed lesbian ex-crackhead. And you think, wow, would I have done so well with parents like that? I don't know. And also, Jade was looking after her mum from a very young age. So, you know, there was a lot to Jade, and I was really upset because she annoyed the fuck out of me at times in there, but I always liked her because she was like, he just wanted to give her, I always gave her the benefit of the doubt, and we'd always have these. I mean, I never forget when I had a little argument with her because she was like, she'd always go from one side to another side. "Oh, what did he say? Alex just said that. Oh yeah, he did." And they go, "Alex, Kate just said that about you," and then go backwards and forwards like she was playing both sides. And I know once before I said to her, "Oh, shut up, you dental nurse," and she said, "Oh, whatever, you model," It really got me then. No, but it's it's sad. I tell you what, if Jade could see that her son had turned into a catwalk, I think he was doing, I think it's Gucci. Yeah, Gucci catwalk in Milan. Yeah. She would be so proud. And I tell you what, he's a good-looking boy. He's got that traditional model looks, and he's probably got a six-pack as well. The annoying bastard. The only six-pack I ever had in the fridge.
So we're going to the last question I've got for you today, and I think people would love to know, is kind of what life's been like for you since leaving the house, and what do you do now for work, and do people recognize you from your time?
The Sikh community, all the women in the Sikh community know me. They love me. In fact, all my neighbours are Sikh, and I just got some freshly made samosas without onions, and I don't like onions. So they always recognise me. What happened afterwards? About a year and a half after Big Brother, a man ran into the side of my car and died. And it was pretty horrible, actually. I remember seeing the bloke on the floor and his legs were all bent around, and he took his last breath, and me and this nurse that was behind, we picked him up, put him on the side of the street, and we tried to resuscitate him, but he was gone. And I remember at the time my friend said, "It's not your fault, you're at the side of your car, there's nothing you could have done." But then I started losing work. Like the very next day, the pantomime I was supposed to do with Jade at Endemol were doing on TV, because I'd never done any pantos. I was very lucky. I never did any personal appearances. I didn't need to, because I was working constantly. I mean, I was getting jobs. My first job, a day after Big Brother finished, I did a job for £70,000.
Wow.
Like 5 hours work. And then the next week I did a job for 80 grand. And basically, if you wanted me, I was a minimum of £2,000 for a couple of hours. So I was making lots of money, and I didn't need to go and do all of this, the acting stuff. Even though I did performing arts at school. I mean, predominantly I like to go on stage and I sing. I don't sing like a pop star, but I sing like stage show, you know. Yeah. And yeah, all that work dropped. I had a car program on Channel 4, of course, so they're not going to use me for that. And I had Nickelodeon. I did a live Nickelodeon children's TV program, because I love kids. Obviously not the Gary Glitter way, but I love kids. You know, I love the fact that you can teach them stuff, interact with them, have a lot of fun. So I started losing all of this work, and basically I never worked again after that. And it was about a year and a half later, it went to court, and then suddenly this evidence showed up, and then my case was dismissed. But by that time, reality TV momentum was gone. And what was annoying was the police had this evidence 2 weeks after my accident, and they fucking held on to it. And it completely destroyed me. They tried to do me for death by dangerous driving, and I said no. And then they tried to do me for driving, death by driving with no due care and attention, and I said no. And then they wanted to do me by death, they're just driving with no due care and attention. I said no. And each time they said to me, if it goes to court, you will be found guilty and you'll get a worse sentence. And I was like, okay, bring it on. And this is where it links to Kate Lawler's knickers. One of the investigating police officers, he was a Big Brother fan, and he was always saying to me, he wasn't one of the arsehole ones. And he was always saying to me, like, oh, you know, I've got MS and I need some stuff for the charity. Can you help me out? And I used to give him a whole bunch of Big Brother memorabilia. And I said to him, oh, well, you're a fan of mine? He goes, no, not really. I liked Kate Lawler. And I went, I've got a pair of her knickers if you want. So I gave him a pair of knickers. Anyway, what transpired at the end of that, he was one of the bloody police officers that was trying to go for the kill with me. Wow. So I think that was another reason why I always had in my head why I didn't like Kate Lawler, because the bloke that screwed me in the police force was a Kate Lawler fan, and I gave him her knickers. So God knows what he's done with it. I wonder if his wife knows. But after that all happened and we found out, I went to the police, I went to the IPCC, because these two guys had lied. What they'd done is in this accident there was plenty of witnesses, and the police investigator says I was doing between 57 and 63 mile an hour or so in a 30 zone, which I wasn't. Yet they didn't listen to any of the evidence from all the witnesses who said, oh yeah, he was on the side of the car. They picked him up and put him on the side of the road. So there's a big difference. There was no skid marks. I wasn't going fast. So the police thought from where I was hit to the pavement. Yet the independent said, well, from what the witnesses said, it was right in front of the car, so he wouldn't have been speeding. And I took the police officers to the IPCC. They tried to stop it 3 times. And then just as it went to the end, both police officers took early retirement, case closed. Wow. So I've had and I lived by a school, and I was constantly getting called a murderer. And even now and again, you get all these fucking trolls online. If I mention something, oh yeah, we know Alex Sibley, he's the one that killed someone in his car. Yeah, I wonder how he feels. Now, the truth is, I feel sorry for his family. I really do feel sorry for his family. They think I did something wrong because of this copper. I don't have any sleepless nights over it. I am bitter because that was my career gone. I'd made, in a year, nearly a £250,000. You know, I've got no mortgage. I made stupid amounts of money, and I've got to say, I was really shit at the very beginning when I did some of the presenting stuff. I was a bit stiff, and it was only towards the end I was starting to loosen up a little bit and stuff like that. But by that time, it was too late. And about 3 years ago, I had friends of mine always say, "Oh, you know, Alex, you should do something. You know, And I said, "Yeah, but I haven't got an agent." And then, and my dad always told me, you shouldn't go in life. You should always do something. You don't want to wait until you're 80 and say, "Oh, coulda, shoulda, woulda." So I got in touch with pretty much every agency in London. No one got back to me, except my old agent. Well, my agent died on me, poor man. He had died of an aneurysm. So it was with his team that were there, and I got in touch with them, and he said, "Alex, I've always liked you, but your boat set sail a very long time ago." So then I was like, you know, I do sometimes think, you know, what could I have done after that? But then I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have my 4 lovely kids, you know. But trust me, I'd still like to do stuff. I mean, I don't want to do stuff that I don't know about. I'd love to do cars, but I doubt no one would take you seriously, even though nobody really knows
the aftermath
about the car thing. And I've got to say, a couple of weeks ago, when it was on TV, some people had asked, and I never knew I had this weight on my shoulders, and it was a whole weight off my shoulders where I felt like I was able to give my side of the story with the accident, because all the newspapers said Alex kills pensioner in sporty BMW and Alex in killer smash. And I'd never said anything. I'd never had my view. And you know what? The other people, they just didn't, they didn't print. And I said to them, like, look, you can get in touch with the police. You know, it's out there. It's not like it's a closed case. It's very easy. You know, the police submitted evidence a year and a half on the day of court. And it completely screwed my career up. Completely screwed it up. But so that's what I could have been doing. But then I went to work at the family business, which is we rent out affordable housing. We've got about 90 properties now.
So there we go. I hope you enjoyed the Big Brother 3 reunion with a bit of a twist there, with an interview with Alex at the end. Don't forget to tune in on Monday, where we have our biggest reunion yet for Big Brother Series 4. I have so many of the Big Brother 4 housemates on the show. It's one not to be missed. It's exciting and it's great because they all get on so well. So definitely tune in.